Mr. Chairman, and I think from all the attention the census has gotten, we probably need to have a whole nother opportunity to sit down and kind of go through the census and the process, because I have some questions too, but I don't want to spend my time talking about the census. I want to, again, congratulate Jean for the great work that GEO does. Senator Ernst and I, as you know, worked very hard to craft legislation to improve program management across the federal government. Our bill went on to be signed into law finally in December, and I was really pleased when you gave us a shout out in your testimony, the Program Management Improvement and Accountability Act. I think if it's properly implemented, and we tend to be very aggressive in oversight, can foster prevention for waste. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity to work with you, make sure it's implemented, make sure that the ideas that were in that bill actually see the light of day going forward. But I want to talk about this idea of waste, fraud, and abuse and whistleblowers, mostly I think John and Michael, as IGs, you know that we've been working with your organization to try and get one portal where people on this dais can actually go out and look, where people can try and discover systemic kinds of waste, systemic frauds that are going on. Have you both participated in that effort, and is there any recommendations you would make to us about how we can provide greater transparency on IG reports?
We're deciding who goes first. We agree wholeheartedly with more transparency. We would support efforts to get more information. With respect to whistleblowers, we've had our staff trained with respect to how to ensure that we treat whistleblowers with the respect that we get the information from that we need. And so anything that can help us get more
Are you familiar with the work that we're doing, or the work that the association's doing, the IG Association?
With SIGI, yeah, we're very active with SIGI.
So, and so you're familiar with the portal that's being developed?
Yes. Absolutely.
And do you see this as a mechanism to provide more systemic, when GAO issues a report, we know where to go. It's not, we don't have to go to, Interior's GAO, we don't have to go, but with the IG reports, each one of the agencies have their own separate way of doing things. I think getting everybody onto one portal, not saying you have to abandon what you're already doing, but to me is a way to really examine whether we have a lot of cross-pollination that we can do to avoid waste, fraud, and abuse.
Absolutely, and we've spoken as IGs together. I think there is strong support for that idea to do it. I agree with you that we wouldn't abandon what we're doing individually as an agency, but having one portal, I think, would be very helpful.
Yeah, we're going to be very aggressive on this issue. John, have you looked at the draft portal?
Yes, we participate in it, and I can't tell you right now the very status of it, but I know that there is a lot of excitement within the IG community to have a single point of contact in which basically every IG report gets published.
I think this is, and just for my colleagues here, I think this is amazing because this has all been done without any appropriation.
Right.
It's been done just through volunteer work, kind of, the Postal Service has been great providing the background and some of the technical support. We think we can even improve it more with just a little bit of attention to an appropriation. And so we're going to be working very hard on that provision, because I think sunshine is a huge component. I want to go back to you, Jean. We talk about this quite often when you appear either in our subcommittee or before the full committee. What tools do we need to give you? What can you recommend to us that we should be doing in our oversight function that we aren't currently doing, or we aren't aggressive enough on?
Well, first, I'm very appreciative of the GAO bill that Senator McCaskill mentioned in her opening remarks to give us additional access authorities. That's been signed into law now. That was very helpful. I think if we run into problems getting information, we're not currently having any right now, I'd want the committee's support to help us get the information that we need. I would suggest for those, the high-risk areas, I'd like to see more hearings on the high-risk areas. We flag individual ones that need legislative action to actually address the issue. I mean, many of them require executive branch actions, but a fair number of them also require legislative action to address the high-risk problems. And so I'd like to see, more hearings and attention on those high-risk areas. So I feel we're well supported. Obviously, a word on our budget wouldn't hurt. I can't go by without taking
So
this
just-
opportunity.
So just tell us what's happened to your budget and
Well, right
in terms
now-
of the growth of the overall federal expenditure, and then what we've given our eyes and ears out there, what we've given you to examine it.
Yeah, well, we're operating under a continuing resolution that's less than last year's funding, so I'm not replacing people as they leave at the GAO. We can't afford it until we have an appropriation for the
Are
year.
you subject to the hiring freeze?
No.
Okay.
No, but I don't have a budget. I mean, and that's a problem with all the.
Heck of a way to run a railroad, isn't it?
Yeah, everybody. We came out of the sequester in 2013, though, just to put this in perspective, at the lowest staffing level we've been since 1935, all right? And so we've clawed back some of that, but I believe we need to be at least 3,250 people at the GAO. Right now, we're under 3,000 and going down unless we get an appropriation for this year.
So have you ever calculated that for every dollar of investment in GAO managed well by you, what that would return in terms of?
Last year was $112 for every dollar invested in GAO. We returned over $63 billion in financial benefits. The year before, it was $70 billion.
Well,
We're in good investment.
I mean, the point that I want to make, I guess, before I conclude here, is that we are so often penny wise and pound foolish. And I don't think that Congress takes its oversight responsibility as serious as what it should. And I think that you are that auditor for us, whether it's a management audit, whether it's a fiscal audit, and we ought to have a fully funded, functional GAO, and then a fully functional committee and Congress that's going to be absolutely aggressive. Because if people think these are just one-offs, which I think in the past they have, then, you feel a little bit of heat and it goes away. We need to turn up the heat and make sure that every dime that we spend of taxpayer money gets spent in a way that that taxpayer would spend it themselves. So I really appreciate all the work that all of you do. Continue to send suggestions and ideas. We're very curious and interested in what we can do to help.
Thank you very much, Senator.